She was like, I see you went to a community college. It was like, you know what? I went to a community college too. And you're not expecting that, especially looking at Microsoft and looking at
the caliber.
You expect Ivy League, right?
Yeah.
The things that worked for me back in 2023 when I was trying to figure out where to go from there is try here and there. Try out. If it doesn't work, try the next thing. But don't keep using the same formula.
Welcome to another episode of the Cyber Stories podcast, where we have conversations with tech and cybersecurity professionals from diverse backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Carl David, who started his career as an Incident Response Intern with the world-renowned detection and response team at Microsoft last summer. He's currently an Intelligence Analyst Intern at Semperis and an incoming Cybersecurity Intern at USAA for the summer of 2025. Carl was born and raised in Rwanda and moved to the US about 5 years ago. He has forged an amazing path in his career so far as an alumnus of Collin College, where I also started my college education, and he's now doing remarkable things for himself. In today's episode, we talk about how Carl landed his first internship at Microsoft and turned that into 2 full-time internships at Semperis and also USAA. We discuss certifications, college, networking, projects, and the importance of being intentional about your cybersecurity career. Before we get to the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating as it supports our work. That being said, I'm your host, Dave Johnson, and welcome to another episode of the Cyber Stories podcast. All right, I'm super excited to be back with another episode with this amazing guy here, Carl. Man, when I tell you, I am super proud of this man. He is just really crushing it with his career. And I'm just so glad that we're able to do this episode. It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad to have you on the podcast. How are you doing, Carl?
Man, I'm doing good, man. This is it's a dream come true to me, at least. People may be thinking about what my bucket list looks like right now. But I'm really happy to be here, remembering those 2021 days when I was trying to figure out, what I want to do in cyber, and then kind of looking up cyber and just finding this guy, all excited about cyber, starting, of course, you were starting your career as some kind of starting, not like me, I was still in school, but I just seeing you, how excited you were and how you were talking about those topics and what's in cyber, and that really got me excited. So now this feels like a full circle moment for sure.
Man, I'm glad to have you on here, man. Like I said, I'm super proud of you. Like, every time I see you just like on LinkedIn, all the amazing stuff you're doing, getting into Microsoft, like getting multiple internship offers, man, it's amazing. And we also kind of share like similarities with the sense that I also have an immigrant background, and you as well. So just kind of like seeing how you've just really like pushed through and really made something good for yourself, like for your career. It's like super, super inspiring. So I'm excited for us to talk about, just your journey into this, right? The whole premise of this podcast is like having conversations about like people's perspective and how they've essentially built a career for themselves in this industry. And you're like an amazing blueprint of like what it looks like to literally like push past adversity and difficult situations to like literally like forge the foundations of a strong cybersecurity career for yourself, from getting an internship at Microsoft, one of the biggest companies, in the world, and, locking in multiple internships and just really building this really amazing career for yourself. So to kick us off, let's get started with, your story. Like, what is your background and like, how did you, just get into this whole cybersecurity thing?
All right. So first of all, as you mentioned, I was an immigrant at some point. Moved here about 5 years ago for college. Little African dreams. Little African kids starting with dreams. And, want to come here and try out this American dream everybody keeps talking about. So moved here. Primarily, I was looking at the States, see where I would like to be. So I already had family here, so I was like, at least here, but here I'm in Texas. And I was like, let me check it out. And my cousin was like, there's this great community college here called Collin College.
Shout out to Collin College. Shout out to Collin College.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, so I came here. At first, as you know, it's doing just a general associate degree, just trying to find myself, find what I want to do. And at first, surprisingly, I was trying to be in a bachelor's of business, like business administration.
Wow, really?
So because I was trying to go off of what I knew. So back home, yes, there is computer science, yes, there is IT, but it's not as advanced as here. There's no such thing as cyber. There is, but like not as advanced as here, where we have a full-blown program and all that good stuff. So I was like, let me try business and all that stuff. But then going back to the whole immigrant part of things, my cousin was like, yo, let me tell you something. As far as getting like sponsorship and making it in the US, I feel like it should be best if you tried engineering. Because he worked for him. He came here as well. He was an immigrant, of course, and just wanted to see what's out here, and engineer worked for him. So he was like, cool, and try computer science. Man. Listen, I tried computer science, and I'm not going to cuss or anything. I'm not going to say anything crazy, but he kicked my butt. So tried it out. Not necessarily the coding part of things, but I'm not the best at math or physics or anything of that nature. Just sciences in general, you just put it that way. And I tried it out, and man, it wasn't for me. So fast forward to trying out computer science, trying to force me to do it for a whole semester. And that necessarily didn't click. So I was planning to then maybe switch to just a general IT degree and just get it over with, have my parents be happy, get my bachelor's, finish all of this. And, that was my second year. So I was like, you know what? Let me go through IT and then maybe transfer out somewhere else, and then we'll figure out from there. And then I met a guy in one of my kind of like, I think it was like some random sociology class. And we're talking after class, and he was like, yo, why are you trying to transfer when we have like first of all, an associate degree in cyber here, and soon enough next semester, we're going to have a bachelor's degree in cyber here at Collin College. I was like, how is that possible? It's just a community college. At least, maybe not even say just, it's a good school. So
amazing school.
It's a community college, and to my understanding, there was no such thing as a community college offering a 4-year degree. So when I heard that, I started digging into it, and then they were like, yo, listen, not only is it a bachelor's degree, the price stays the same, man. Being an international student, first of all, little background, we pay like 4 times. Yeah,
the amount of in-state.
Of in-state. So our out-of-state tuition is insane.
It's
insane. I was like, you know what? I was either looking into keeping my tuition, which was not that low, but at least not as bad as a big university.
Yeah.
Or just maybe trying out Collin and then not have to pay hundreds, 20, 30, 40 grand a year just to finish my degree. So, checked all my boxes. So I was like, you know what, let me try it out. Went through the associate degree. So that kind of like, it was great. But the thing is, my classes didn't all transfer into the associate. So I had to kind of like catch up fast. At some point, I was taking 18 credits, trying to catch up, 21.
I know about that life.
So it was insane, man. So trying to catch up. So very great program, very accommodating. They had classes after 6 p.m. So if you had work during the day, and then later you pull up and just work and all that good stuff. So it was a great program overall. And fast forward to the bachelor's degree. So once again, with the whole immigrant process and all that good stuff, at that point I was in my 3rd year getting into the bachelor's program. And now we want to get internships. They keep telling us, get internships. It's going to be a great way for you to potentially get a return offer, or at least try out cyber without necessarily having to commute. So I was like, you know what? Let me apply and see what happens. Because I knew some of the other schools were offering like some type of it's a work permit called CPT. So it allows you to work while still being in school and all that good stuff. So just for that 3 months over the summer, and then you're back to school. So applied, started applying like crazy, worked on my resume. So good thing Collin had programs that had me, the whole working on my resume.
That's a really good thing about Collin.
So help me with my resume, help me with everything. And then I started applying. And I started getting interviews and all that stuff. And then every time you get that question, are you international? And I'd be like, yes. Do you have the documentation, like what you need? And I was just getting into it. I was like, I don't know what that is. So I was checking my school. And unfortunately, my school necessarily didn't offer like it's called CPT. So they didn't offer that work permit that you can have during your school and during school and all that stuff. So had to pass up on some offers. One of them being at Fidelity Investments, and I was like, man, I wanted to be there. So it was a bar for sure. But kept my head out. I just kept going through my degree. And fast forward to late 2023, so my immigration status changed and all that stuff. And then from there, now that I'm able to work, I'm able to try things, I started applying and seeing what's out here. Actually, let me kind of go backtrack a little bit. So early 2023, that's the year when I wanted to be more productive,
use your skills,
more out there, build my brand, build my skills. So started, of course, looking into certifications. So I know that's probably going to be a talking point at some point doing this. My first certification was certified in cyber, my SC Square. So went with that, did it. It was really eye opener. It gave me most of the basics that, of course, I had learned during my bachelor's. But later on, it kind of reinforced on what I already knew, and from there, started watching more of the videos. At some point, you're covering a lot of Security Plus, Blue Team Level 1. So I was like, you know what? Talk about Security Plus. Let me check it out. Went with Security Plus, loved it. Gave me, of course, more, better foundation.
Yeah.
Brought a look into security. And then on top of that, while I was doing this search, doing my degree, I was like, you know what? Let me, I started looking at your brand, looking at everybody that I was talking to in cyber. At least at that point, I was barely using LinkedIn, early 2023. So I was like, you know what? Let me look at their page and see what they're doing, right? Or what they're advising people to do, and then maybe go from there.
Yeah.
So the main thing that I noticed, at least from your page, a lot of other people's pages, was they're interacting with the community. They're interacting with the people in the industry. They actually want to get to know them personally. And I know you've had Ifani on your podcast.
Yeah, amazing guy.
Yeah, very amazing guy. So he then, reached out to him, found him randomly, because I was still kind of stuck in between cyber and cloud, and he was cloud, very heavy on cloud. And I was like, let me hit him up, because he looked like me. Yeah. So I'm sure he would give me like more pointers that made sense to me, at least to my journey. Yeah. And he was an immigrant as well. Yeah. So I was like, let me check out this guy. So reached out to him as well, and he mentioned something that I never heard before. When we were texting, it was like, do you want to have a coffee chat? So looked at his location, was in Turks and Caicos. I was like, what do you mean? And once again, this is more funny, coming from the standpoint of an immigrant. English is my third language. Yeah. So I literally learned this 5 years ago, coming here and all that stuff. So he said coffee chat, so I take things literally, right? Yeah. And I was like, so I went on Google, ChatGPT. I was like, what is a coffee chat? What is this? so went into it. I found that it was some type of just 30-minute quick call to get to know each other, and then kick things off, right? Yeah. So tried it out, loved it, and then I was like, you know what? This seems to work better than just texting and getting to know people on LinkedIn, because people are usually on the fence, especially in our industry. Yeah. They don't necessarily want to give away too much information off the bat, right? Yeah. So I was just like, you know what? Let me start this. Let me start reaching out. Let me start getting to know people. Let me start, even though necessarily I can't work yet, there's other areas where I can improve. So at the, when I'm ready to work, I'm already kind of somewhere. Yes. Not necessarily just waiting for the right time to get started. Right? So started doing that, started reaching out, started getting to know people, all of, from all levels, whether it's juniors, seniors, principal level, all that good stuff, even directors and above. So getting to know them, getting to talk to them, and that, of course, gave me the soft skills that I needed to be able to, talk about myself, as you know, during the interview, the first thing they ask me is tell me about yourself. Yes. Be able to talk about it pretty fast and in a way that I don't miss out anything, but yet I'm able to still tell you everything you need to know as far as the job goes and all that stuff. So it taught me a lot. And from there, I'd actually met one of the people he was head of audit at Collin College. So I was already working as a student assistant. Yeah. So I checked with them. I was like, hey, so is there any internship or anything that in your program where you're, since he was the director of audit at that point, I was like, maybe I could do GRC of some sort, or maybe help you out, or be an assistant or something. Yeah. Even if it's part-time.
Shooting your shot.
I know. So I was like, even if it's part-time, I mean, I'm willing to do anything. Even if it was 10 hours, I'm willing to do it. Sure, even if it's free. I was like, I'm willing to do it. So hit him up,
Are you the type of person who is so focused on protecting large networks, but seriously neglecting your own body's firewall? In cybersecurity, we're constantly vigilant about protecting systems and data, but there's a critical vulnerability that many of us overlook: our own health. Late nights, hunting threats, stress from incident response, and the sedentary nature of our work creates the perfect storm for health deterioration. As someone who's spent countless hours behind the screen, I've experienced this firsthand. And that's exactly why I've integrated the Ultrahuman Ring Air into my daily routine, and it's been a game changer for maintaining peak performance. The Ultrahuman Ring Air is a lightweight, only 3 grams health wearable that monitors your sleep quality, recovery metrics, and activity levels with clinical grade accuracy. Unlike bulkier alternatives, its minimalist design means I barely notice it's there, whether I'm writing some security automation code or responding to incidents or even filming content. I'm literally wearing it right now. It looks so clean. You can see that. What makes it particularly valuable for security professionals is its comprehensive sleep tracking. The ring analyzes deep sleep, REM cycles, and disturbances, giving you actionable insights to optimize your cognitive function, which is essential when you're analyzing real-world threats or making critical security decisions. It also has a 6+ days battery life, which means less maintenance and more focus on what matters. And its airplane mode feature ensures that your biometric data stays private. And this is something that we can all appreciate. The seamless app experience provides a readiness score each morning, helping me decide whether to push through as much with my complex security challenges or scale back a little bit when my body needs recovery. This data-driven approach to health has directly translated to better focus for me, improved decision making, and enhanced resilience, especially during high-pressure security work. Let's be honest, your most important asset in your cybersecurity career isn't really your toolkit or some security certifications. It's your brain and your body. Protecting your health isn't just about longevity, it's about maintaining the sharp cognitive edge on our profession's demands. So you can try out the Ultrahuman Ring Air yourself and see the difference that proper recovery makes with your cybersecurity work. Use the discount code DAYSPRING10 DAYSPRING10 at checkout for a special discount, or click the link in the show notes or YouTube description. Trust me, your future self and your SOC team will thank you. And always remember, the best security professionals don't just protect systems, they actually protect themselves too.
He was like, you know what? Let me go check, because the worst, once again, one thing I learned, the worst they can say is no.
Is no, yeah, that's true.
So he went, checked. It was actually going well at some point, and he was like, there may be a way. I'm checking with like my higher ups and all that good stuff. It was like, we may be able to do it actually. Super hyped. I was like, man, it's finally working out. At least I'm about to have like a semester of work. Yeah. And then out of nowhere, it was like, I checked, and so we're not able to do it since we're international. Yeah. We can't sponsor work. Yeah. And the school doesn't necessarily offer that work permit that I was talking about earlier. Yeah. And I was like, man, I was already like, but at least it showed me that it's still possible, right? Yeah. So a couple of months passed by, and then fast forward to September 2023, my work's kind of status changed. Yeah. Now I was not necessarily had all these immigration troubles or anything. So now I could actually, I was free. I could literally do anything I wanted. Yeah. And then it was kind of weird. It's just how life is. I'm sure you've noticed this, how things sync. So September, things change. October, he like literally October, like the first week of October, he was like, yo, listen, remember me? We spoke a while back. Hey, there's this internship at Microsoft Dart. So it's a detection and response team. And, why don't you apply? And we've been in the program at Collin. You've learned a lot about Azure, just security in general. There was a lot of classes. And at that point, I had done Charles. Like Azure's Detection Lab. Yeah, so that was all that was my resume, by the way. Wow. That and just like some GRC related like things I had done with the Collin program and some just regular Azure stuff. So I was like, you know what? I looked at his text. He believed in me. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. This doesn't look like something I should go for. Yeah. Maybe I should try maybe MSSP or maybe something smaller. Yeah. That fits where I'm at. And that's when I learned there's no such thing as small. There's no such thing as this is where I should be. You kind of we find ourselves just limiting ourselves. That's true. Looking at you like where you are. Yeah. You got here because there was no such thing as the limit. Not for me. Yeah. There's no limits. Yeah. The limits really set them in our minds. Yeah. Right? And so going back to that, I was like, I looked at the text. I was like, man, I don't know. Then he went, and then so under the comments, the director of DART, or the Incident Response Team, posted the role again on her personal LinkedIn page. And he was like, he tagged me on the post. He was like, apply. I was like, man, I was like, why? Yeah. Why are you doing this to me? So I was like, you know what? I went, submitted my application, and literally 2 weeks later, I got an email. They were like, hey, would you like to be interviewed? We have this internship coming up, and would you like to take part in this? I looked at it, I was like, dude, like literally. There's no way. Yeah, because this is my first, like, of course, potential break into cyber.
Yeah.
And I had no experience at all.
That's crazy.
So went through with the interview process. Of course, I'm not going to try to make this too long. Went through with the interview process, which literally was a week later. Interview, it was 3 rounds, back to back, 45 minutes to an hour. And you were just there like, whoa. So first round, you just like, you get like, let's say like a director, talk to them, or a manager, talk to them. It was more chill, trying to get to know you, see if you're fit for the team and all that good stuff. So, it went well, and it was very interesting in just getting to know me. Mm-hmm. So I was ready, ready to just
go into it.
Through the certs that I have,
Yeah.
Every single word that I've learned, lately through Security Plus and all these certs. And he was like, yo, listen, throw that out of the window. Just want to get to know you, dude. I was like, you know what? Okay, let me just talk and get to know him. So there was a full 45 minutes of just getting to know me and hearing where I'm coming from. Of course, there was like some security related questions, but it was flowing so well that I necessarily didn't notice. I was just found myself just answering, going off of what I know, right? Mm. And then that went well, and I was like, whoa, if the next 2 rounds are like this, then everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Second round, man. They gave me a security researcher within Dart, and he started throwing words at me. Have you ever done .NET? Have you ever done this? Are you good at Python? I was like, every answer for the first 10 minutes of the interview were no. It was no. And I was like, man, in my mind, I was like, at least I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point, I'm not sure if you've ever been in this kind of situation where you talk to the interviewer and you feel like, yeah, I'm not getting this job because they're already kind of wrapping up things. And you've only been in the call for only like 20 minutes. Yeah. So you're like, man, I mean,
this is over.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is over, And then he switched. It was like, I see you went to a community college. It was like, you know what? I went to a community college too. You're not expecting that, especially looking at Microsoft and looking at
the caliber.
You expect Ivy League, right?
Yeah.
Which there were a lot of Ivy League students during my internships, but there was also a lot of people like us who are trying and who are doing their best to better themselves with the resources that we have, right? So he started, talking to me, he started showing me, hey, I'm like you. And he literally was an intern the year before. And
wow.
Not with Dart, but like somewhere else. Yeah. And he was like, hey, I'm like you. Hey, it's normal to feel this way, especially coming from the community college. And not a community college, but just starting out in your industry and all that stuff. So he was like, it's fine. And we started talking, just chatting it up. And he asked me questions that actually helped me gauge my capabilities that necessarily have nothing to do with being too technical or anything. And then he was like, you know what? You could be good at this. And the call ended up being going well.
Yeah.
And the third call, same energy. The director came in. Yeah, it was nothing like the first call. It was very, very technical.
Yeah.
I was able to answer most of it, the best of my abilities, of course. But it went well. But I didn't necessarily feel the connection with the third interviewer because they're really good at not necessarily showing you that you get it. Yeah. So it ended, and then a day later, they were like, "Hey, you're selected. You'll be joining us next year at Redmond at HQ." I was like, whoa.
Wow.
And now at that point, it's my first really real job. I mean, I've worked at Collin, but it's mostly part-time, but real full-time and getting to be there with all these other interns from all over the world. And I was like, this is nuts. And then, of course, once again, I'm trying to be real here. Look at the paycheck. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. Just looking at this and taking out everything into consideration. Like, this is crazy. And I didn't really see myself being there, but it still worked out.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm sure maybe we can touch on the internship itself later.
Yeah.
But internship ended, went well. Everything was, learned a lot. Got a chance to take part in all type, IRs and all that good stuff. So incident response. And that's why it was pretty much incident response heavy and threat hunting heavy. So during the internship, then that led me to my second opportunity where I heard about KC7, which I know you've heard. You've had Simeon on the call. They introduced us to KC7 during the internship, and we had it as our main source of training.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, I looked at this thing. I was like, what is this KC7? So I started looking into it. No, and then I found out that the founder works literally like one of our sister teams. So there's multiple teams: Dart, Ghost, Mystic, MSRC, and all that stuff. So I was part of Mystic, and we worked closely with Mystic during my internship and all that stuff, since they did attribution for us and all that good stuff. Yeah. So he then, reached out to him. Now I'm on team. So
you can talk to him.
So now you're literally internal. So it's not as weird as reaching out to him over
from LinkedIn,
and all that stuff. So it was a lot more personal.
Yeah.
So, hit him up. I was like, hey, I saw this great thing that you're doing. We're using that as a training, resource even during my internship.
Wow.
And once again, mind you, this is the first internship at Dart. They've never had one.
Oh,
at least a full-blown.
Oh, you're the first cohort.
Pretty much real cohort. They've had cohorts before, but it was mostly skill-based. So they'll bring in people that have already worked in the industry, but mostly to transfer them into the role.
Yeah.
So through those kind of programs.
Yeah.
But this time around, it was a real full-blown internships with interns from all over the world, all these big universities and all that stuff. And so I was like, hey, I'm doing this and would love to join you once this internship is up. So internship went through, did a lot of great stuff. It's, probably gonna touch on it later.
Yeah.
But he then, he was like, you know what? Yeah, we need help. Sure, you're able to bring, having worked at Dart, you may be able to help us maybe better our clusters because there's a lot of things going on in the back end.
Yeah.
Able to help us maybe, I don't know, with the data or something, or maybe the type of incidents or the type of assist scenarios.
Yeah.
So help them with the scenarios and make them fun, right?
Yeah.
So at least coming from a perspective of someone who's been there.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know what? Why not? Just join us.
Yeah.
After internship, you can come and help us. So at that point, you're in an internship, you're thinking, return offers are hopefully guaranteed. Everything I could.
Yeah.
But they didn't necessarily have headcount at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So now you find yourself, you're not back to case one necessarily or back to
square one
or whatever. But at least now you get some experience.
Yeah.
You've been there for 3-4 months.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily starting over.
Yeah.
And now you're like, man, put in all this work and then now we're back to square one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what am I going to do next, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me just do K7 full-time and then just, not necessarily full-time, but just join them as the main thing and help them out and learning the process.
Yeah.
Also, again, being a trained content analyst, working on the content, working on their LinkedIn page, so all the content you see, I was one of the people working on that, the infographics, all those things. So that then kept me current. He helped me stay
up to date.
And stay up to date. So it was a win-win, but once again, even though he did not necessarily pay because it was volunteering. So that's one thing people may not necessarily want to go for. You always want to
always get paid.
Bucks, I want to get paid. It was free. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it, saved some money over the internship. Going back to school for my last semester, let me just do it. Because I only had 2 classes left at that point. So I was like, you know what?
You 2 classes for the associates or bachelor's?
So at that point, it was literally last year.
Right.
Last fall.
Yeah.
So now you're back to starting over, or kind of starting over. I'm doing KC7, and once again, going back to the whole networking phase, I made a lot of people at Microsoft. So one of my now mentors was like, you know what? Hey, I'm moving on to a new company. It's called Semperis. They're mostly for identity solutions, ITDR. And he was like, hey, if you want to maybe check us out, you could have something for the spring, maybe. And you can build from there. Once again, going back to that networking phase. It helps like crazy. Network. Because you never know where that can take you. And then, good thing for me, I didn't wait 5 years or 4 years to find out how, the fruits of that network.
Yeah. So, it was so immediate.
It was kind of immediate, but also the job wasn't handed to me.
Of course.
So they were trying to find interns for the company. At first, actually, I applied for a support engineer role at first. Man, I don't know much about AD or Active Directory or Entra ID and how, all the secrets behind them. So interview for their support engineer roles, I didn't get it. So I didn't get it. I wasn't necessarily the best at the job. And of course, it was my introduction to Active Directory, and that's not a place to start as a support engineer because all the issues that are coming in will be sent to you. So they asked me very technical questions on AD, answered some, missed a lot. And it didn't work out. And then not out of nowhere, but after that process, now you're like, man, now I'm 2 for 2 as far as failing because I took the internship as a failure at the time, at least before I had a full picture or at least started looking at things from a different angle. So I looked at the internship as a failure, and then now I failed my first interview out of the internship. So now I'm like, what's next?
You mean like your internship at Microsoft?
At Dart.
As a failure?
Not necessarily a failure, but the fact that you didn't necessarily get a full-time offer.
Oh, return offer.
Right? So it wasn't a failure itself, but just not being able to
transfer that into a full-time offer.
Right? So
in today's world, real cybersecurity professionals know that their coding skills are no longer optional in our field. I've been using code crafters to elevate my programming abilities to new heights. What sets code crafters apart is your hands-on approach with real-world challenges and project-based learning specifically designed for professionals who want to practice programming concepts. Whether you're automating security tasks or building defensive tools for your environment, Code Crafters provides the perfect environment to develop the coding chops for these critical skills. I'm even launching a series on building a DNS server from a Code Crafters challenge from scratch soon, showcasing what's possible with solid coding fundamentals. Don't let coding be your career bottleneck. Sign up today using the link in the podcast show notes or YouTube description and join thousands of professionals who've transformed their coding capabilities through Code Crafters.
Now I'm interviewing with them, doing a workout. So my mentor was like, you know what, let's take a different approach. We tried, getting you an interview that necessarily didn't work. So how about we try maybe, build projects. Yeah. Once again, show your what you like about our products and start posting about it. Create a Medium page and start blogging, start talking about tools and learn about Active Directory, because support engineer is not necessarily a place to start as a junior, at least without any knowledge of Active Directory. So I was like, you know what, that may be good. Let me do that. Started blogging about their tools, started talking about, because they have a lot of community tools. So I started blogging about them, talking about them, and that then grabbed the CEO's attention. So at that point, I was never in those conversations. And now the CEO saw me and he was like, you know what? Maybe we could give him a shot. That's what my mentor told me, from the inside. And I was like, maybe we could give him a shot. And he was like, you know what? How about we interview him for Intelligence Analyst Intern role? And once again, being a startup, a late-stage startup, it had to do with everything: product, security research, IR, anything that came up. You just have to learn it on the go and try it out, right? So they were like, let's just talk to him, and then had the interview, spoke with the product team and later security team, and they're like, we like him, let's bring him on. And then just like that, I had a spring internship, and that was never something I thought would be possible, because summer internships are more common, but spring and fall internships are really hard to get usually, because they're very competitive and sometimes may not even accommodate like your schedule, things of that nature, because you have to be in school and all that stuff. So fast forward to now, I'm at Semperis. But during the whole onboarding process, I was like, you know what? That's actually, I found out last year. I was coming this spring. I was like, you know what? Let me keep applying. Yeah. Applied, got an interview with USAA. Yeah. And they were like, hey, you want to speak to us? We once again, that's the main formal way. Like before that, I had reached out to like the manager who had posted the role, and it was like, we're hiring for Cybersecurity Intern. And she was like, hey, I reached out to her, and I spoke to her, and I was like, hey, I saw that you posted this internship. I'm interested, and here's what I can do. So I got my resume, did all of this, and So once again, that whole networking thing took me to USA as well. So fast forward to when they sent me the email for the interview, hopped on the interview, very straightforward interview. They asked me about my skills, answered, went through my resume. They're like, hey, we heard about you from this one manager, and we'll be reaching out to you if we think that you're a good fit. But, so far they mentioned that at least I get in through that networking. Yeah. Or at least get a chance to be spoken to. Yeah. Through the networking. Yeah. So a week and a half later, they reached out. They were like, hey, we'd like to give you an offer for the summer to join us, and you'll be under the Insider Threat team. Wow. And I was like, and that's like back to back. You're like, whoa, this is crazy, right? And so now fast forward to now, I'm currently at Semperis, learning a lot, getting a chance to work with my mentor and all the people I looked up with in the industry as far as identity goes, ITDR, and all that good stuff goes. Wow. And then in the summer, getting a chance to then try ITDR. So that's pretty long, but wow. Sure to kind of touch on everything.
That's crazy. We're like 30 minutes in, and like you've just really like what I've heard so far is like a mixture of different things. It's a mixture of like one, like shooting your shot, right? Like not rejecting yourself before someone else rejects you. Second thing I've heard is also like building a strong foundation, right? Having a strong foundation you can build on, right? And then the third thing I've heard is networking. And the fourth thing I've heard is building the skills to get the job that you want, right? Like, because every single time, like every single thing that you've talked about, it's like there is some relation with the skills you've built to the jobs you've gotten, right? For Microsoft, you learn about Azure. You did the Azure project from Cyberwox Academy. You did some Azure stuff in school, right? Went to go work at Microsoft. After that, you started learning about like identity threat detection and response, like learning how this tool works, right? That caught the eye of the CEO of the company, and they're like, "Oh, now let's consider him, right? Because like, oh, you've shown your knowledge or understanding of this thing, right? And you're essentially you're leveraging your knowledge and understanding of things to like, plus your skills, plus your networking, and plus your experience, and plus just you being able to like sell your skills and yourself. Like you've essentially leveraged all these things together to like get these different roles. So like it's like you're balancing everything out by combining all your strengths together, right? It's like you have all these different like you're not like a hacking wizard or anything, right? But like you have all these different strengths that you've just figured out how to like bring them together to help you get the roles that you want, and like really like target them. Like you literally like go and reach out to these people, and like you know how to sell yourself. You know how to like show like, this is the value that I bring to the table. These are the skills that I have that I can use to help like on your team, which is just like, it's amazing that you're able to do that, because so many people have like really like strong strengths in something, but they're so weak in other things. Like they're either like very good at networking, but don't have enough skills to back that up, right? Or they have like they have like very strong skills, but they don't know how to like network or to like put themselves in positions to help them apply those skills to get those jobs. But you found a way to like synergize all these things together, right? Which is just amazing. And wow, like this is my first time hearing. This is my first time hearing like you break everything down, and I'm just like, wow, like that's very smart. that's very, very smart, because everyone has like their different like sort of like strengths, right? Like I have like different strengths. Like I'm not the smartest person. Like I'm like I literally am not like, but like I'm able to combine like just all of the different skills that I have and bring them together to help me either like, you know, get into specific roles or to grow within my roles. Another thing I've also heard from what you just said is like you know how to like target the right skills, right? Because I think a lot of things that people fall into the trap of is like they're just learning a bunch of random stuff. It doesn't sound like you ever went through that phase of like you just went to go learn something random. Like you're like learn specific things that have helped you like get into these roles, right? So with that being said, right, let's talk a little bit about like certifications, right? Because you have a couple of certifications, right? But you don't have like a long laundry list of certifications, right? Let's talk about like prioritizing certifications, projects, and skills, because it seems like you're very like methodical, right? You nothing. It doesn't sound to me like you've wasted time on anything irrelevant so far, right? So across all these different opportunities, right? Across, you know, get into Microsoft, get into Semperis, these time frames, combining that with college as well, because you got to remember like full time in school.
Also adding the fact that I'm now starting my master's at WGU in cyber while doing all of this.
All of that.
Yeah.
So you are very like you're very methodical. Like you're very like specific about what you're doing and how you're going about it. So let's talk about like how you prioritize across like certifications, building like skills by like, you know, doing labs or projects for those things, and also school. How do you like manage all of those three different things? Because those three different things, they add on to your capabilities and your strengths, and also add on to the experience you've built at Microsoft, and also you're building right now at Semperis. Here at Cyberwox, our mission is simple: to provide cybersecurity community, education, and career guidance to help you succeed and build a fulfilling cybersecurity career. We've been consistently delivering on this promise for over 4 years, and with our expanded resources, we're better equipped than ever to support you. If you're looking for more content on cybersecurity, cybersecurity engineering, personal growth and development, and general cybersecurity productivity, check out our Cyberwox Unplugged newsletter. You can subscribe at cyberwoxunplugged.com for new issues delivered directly to you using the link in the description or the podcast show notes. You can also join our thriving community of almost 6,000 cybersecurity enthusiasts on the Cyberworks Academy Discord. Here you can engage in conversations about anything cybersecurity related, like offensive security, defensive security, cloud security, DevOps, DevSecOps, certifications, and even regular job postings from our career board and cybersecurity recruiters we're partnered with. You also have access to our mentorship services, career coaching, resume help, and general cybersecurity career guidance. And if you just want to hang out with other like-minded cybersecurity professionals with common interests, we have chat rooms for anime, personal finance, cars, watches, fitness, running, and several other topics. It's the ultimate supportive network to boost your growth, development, and morale at every stage of your cybersecurity career. If you need help landing your first job without experience, we've got you covered with our resume templates for entry-level cybersecurity professionals, or our comprehensive career planning and learning framework, and several other resources designed specifically to help you get into the industry, chart your path to success, and build a fulfilling cybersecurity career. And if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube and prefer other platforms, the Cyber Stories podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and several other platforms where you can follow us, listen to us on the go, and of course, leave us a 5-star rating. You'll find more information about this on cyberstoriespodcast.com. Finally, check out our store for merch that will continue to release across all seasons. You might want to grab some soon, as some items will be limited editions. We deeply appreciate your support and are committed to continually expanding our resources to make cybersecurity community, education, and career development more accessible. Now, let's dive back into the episode.
So, I mean, that's a really great question, and that's like that $1 million question. Because at the end of the day, I don't want it to, once again, this is not necessarily to make you a roadmap or make you like something. That's something that worked for me.
Yeah,
so overall,
and there's a little value and insight that people can draw from your experience.
So, I would say something that worked for me, first of all. I don't know how to explain it, but I was already kind of like in a path that allowed me to learn all these things on the go. So, of course, being in school, being in the bachelor's degree at Collin, and having been in cyber, being exposed to all these terms, all these buzzwords, and then you go home and then kind of start looking into them. And then from there, you find out that somebody has a project on something that covers something you just learned. Now you want to try it out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, talking about Splunk, there's like, maybe because I usually have like a free version.
Yeah.
Let me check it out and see. Then you hear somebody talking about, I don't know, Metasploit, or you hear all these things and you're like, you know what? Let me download it. Let me try this. Let me try that. And at some point, you find yourself with actually an arsenal of projects and that you've actually touched. And that you can actually experiment.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a full-blown project. I hadn't build full-blown project up until last fall. I was mostly trying out this, trying out that. Of course, the only project I actually built was Charles' project. The Azure one. And the detection lab. So did that, and that actually one of the things that helped me get an internship at Microsoft. Since I was able to talk through it so well and explain and show my thinking, my thought process, and how I get to the finished product. And but overall, how I go about, once again to answer your question, I go about which certs, which projects, and how to do it. School allowed me to learn the stuff that I need, the buzzwords. This was fed to me or given to me. Of course, I paid. But it was given to me, and I was able to have a structured way of learning. So, because that's one thing I'm seeing in the industry a lot. People are kind of like talking about degrees in a way that's not necessarily very favorable. Because talking about them like, it's a waste of money. It's just waste of time. But now when you pick the right ones.
That's true.
As far as spending, as far as, how much you spend for it, what value you're getting out of them. So, once again, a degree is not always a bad choice if it makes sense.
That's true.
So for me, it was at some point it was almost free because I was getting grants, scholarships. I call them. So so I would say the degree helped me. Then from there, they also told us about certifications for entry level, so for junior roles and all that stuff. So mentioned certification, I certified in cyber. Mentioned certifications like Security Plus, and then from there I started building on top of those. But that's kind of like a way I will answer your question. Maybe we can dig down.
By the way, like if you guys haven't seen the episode with Simeon Kakpovi, And if I definitely go check those episodes out. They go into a lot of details, and obviously you've drawn some inspiration from them as well. But no, I like the way you layered it, right? Like college feeds you like the fundamental stuff. Like college feeds you like the basic stuff, right? A lot of college programs are not necessarily like practical, right? But they like kind of introduce you to that, and they point you in the right direction. Like I love college so much. One of my goals we were talking about it. Like one of my goals is to like literally go back and teach at college. It's such an amazing college. Like it's such a really great school. I'm an alumni of Collin. He's also alumni of Collin. So like here in I guess in Collin County, right? If you were to call it that, but the beautiful thing about Collin is like Collin is like invested in like the careers of the students, right? And like beyond just the school stuff, they will actually like point you towards like the right direction. Like, oh, like go try out the certification, go check out these
one
people.
I add as well. Not only that, they will assign you like a coach who will help you with resume building. They will help you. They also have like grants and stuff, and certifications. Because I didn't have to pay for Security Plus or CYC Plus.
Wow. Yes. So you know what's actually crazy?
Yeah.
I was a mentor. I was a tutor and mentor for the FlexTech program.
FlexTech. Yes.
And I actually mentored a bunch of students, right? And part of that program was like they would pay for your Security Plus or your CYC Plus. Like it's so amazing. Like like I said, I definitely want to go back and like go be faculty at Collin because it's such an amazing school. And a lot of people don't take advantage of some of those things, right? Some of those, like, imagine like you have the ability to like interact with a mentor who can guide you, who can be like, oh, like go learn these things, go do these things, go attend this certification, go check out these different, like that's like such a high value thing from a community college that people like typically put down that people don't realize they can get a lot of value from. And you've been able to like leverage that, and even beyond that, right? Going to go experiment. That's one thing I talk about in like my video when I talk about like gains of cybersecurity. A lot of people don't spend time or effort in that experimentation phase, right? The experimentation phase is like, oh, let me go try this thing out, right? Let me go like, I heard about this thing, let me go try it out. Let me go like set it up in a lab environment. Let me go to TryHackMe and like go do a room on it. Let me just like actually get my hands dirty on it beyond just like watching like some video or just like reading an article about it. Let me go like try it out. So like I understand how it works. Like there's so much value in the experimentation phase because it gives you the ability to like get your hands dirty, like add to your knowledge base, and also like help you figure out what you want to do and what you don't want to do, right? Like if you've got to experiment with like let's say you experimented with like setting up an environment like where you try to like metasploit, like like you said, like, and you understand, okay, this is how like exploits work or whatever the case is. I kind of have an understanding of like from an attacker's perspective how like they do what they do, but I don't necessarily want to become a penetration tester or an offensive security engineer. But I understand how to like simulate these attacks. I understand like how these vulnerabilities work. I understand like how the attacker's mind works. So like now as a defender, I can I have a knowledge of that perspective. I could talk about that in interviews. Even in my day job, I can apply that perspective and that knowledge to what I'm doing. There's so much value in that experimentation phase that it really helps you to like gain skills or gain understandings or gain experiences that you would naturally not gain if you didn't actually try those things out, right? So I like that you pointed that out as well. You're going for your master's degree at WGU. Great school, by the way. I'm also a WGU alumni. I'll be returning back actually sometime this year. More to come there. But I think we both know like college is not the end all be all, but there is value in it if you understand how to leverage it the right way, right? Which is something that you obviously have figured out for yourself, right? So you've got your bachelor's degree, right? You got it from Collin, great school. Now you're going for your master's degree. Why are you going for your master's degree? Like, what's prompting you to like, push, forge ahead and go for a master's degree in cybersecurity from WGU?
So my answer is going to be very simple.
Yeah.
It's paid for.
Okay.
So get a grant, it's paying for it.
Yeah.
And of course, allowing me to be doing all these internships this year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Getting to learn, getting credentials, and now later on, of course, being able to do all these internships. So it made sense to me since not necessarily paying for it.
Yeah.
But That's actually a question I've been getting a lot. So
Yeah.
like, you seem to be doing well.
Yeah, why would you go for a
why would
master's
you go for a
degree?
master's,
Yeah.
right away? Why are you
Yeah.
not taking like a year to find out if that's even something you want to do?
Yeah.
But hey, I got a brand. They're paying for it, so it just makes sense.
No, that's great. The Collin the WGM master's degree is a pretty good degree. Like, it's, definitely, like, I'm not gonna get a master's in cybersecurity, but if I were to, like, I'll probably go for that one, or maybe like from like if I can afford like a John Hopkins or like a Stanford or something like that. But that's definitely a good place to go to. But man, Carl, we've talked about like a lot of amazing things, man. Like, your story is like so inspirational. Like, I love how like intentional you've been about all the things that you've done. Like, you've essentially, like, you figured this thing out, right? You understand how the industry works. You understand how like building skills work. You understand how leveraging like certifications work. I think another thing about that is, like, by virtue of being an immigrant, you have to be like, and also knowing this myself, you have to be very resourceful. Yeah. You have to like you have to understand how to like leverage the opportunities that are available to you here in America, because one, we recognize that the opportunities that we have available to us here are completely different from what we have back home. Like, you're, originally from Rwanda. Yeah, I'm originally from Nigeria, right? Born and raised there. Coming here, I recognize, wow, this is so different. This is such a different system. You don't necessarily have the finances to like pursue certain things. So you have to figure out, how do I apply for grants or for scholarships that help me? Like, how do I make myself competitive enough so that I can get these grants or scholarships to help me, like, financially? Because, like, you don't have enough money. Sometimes you're not able to work, like, because of your legal status. So it's like, how do I like navigate this system in a way that best helps me to leverage access to the resources that I have, and you've done such a great job of that. I am super proud of you personally. Like the day we first met at Ifiance meetup, like, you told me like, wow, like you did the Azure project that Charles designed on Cyberwox Academy, and you were like, that helped you with like your Microsoft internship, man. Like, I shed a tear, bro. I shed a tear because I was like, we understand the value of like projects of practical learning, right? Of leveraging like hands-on experience to build skills, to understand things, and to also talk about them in jobs, in interviews, right? Because it really it helps you build those skills, but it helps you like demonstrate your knowledge as well. And to hear that, that was instrumental. I know it was not everything, but it was instrumental in helping you get that opportunity. And now you've leveraged that to turn that into 2 new internship offers by yourself. Like, the Semperis thing, you really figured out, okay, with your mentor, let me go learn how their product works. Let me go learn about identity threat detection and response. Let me go like build these, labs and these different skills, and that helped you get noticed, right? Like, that's You've literally got this thing in the bag, and I'm super proud of you about that. We're 2025, and I know, like, your career is super bright. I know you're going to keep forging ahead. I know you're going to keep building your skills. You're going to keep like pushing the needle. You're going to like, keep forging ahead. But we're in a job climate or a career climate in the cybersecurity industry where things are not the same as they have been, and you've navigated such a hard period, right? 2024, 2020, difficult period to get an internship or get a job. Like, we have Cyberwox Academy, which is a community of almost 6,000 people. So I know it's hard out here. Yes. So, but you've been able to navigate this like very hard period with 3 internship offers in the span of less than a year. 2025, we're in a pretty like, shaky climate, like job-wise, career-wise, cybersecurity-wise. Everybody's telling you, go through this certification, go through this training, go through the CTF. Like this, like everybody's like, oh, go through this boot camp. Like everyone is just like, what should I freaking do to get a job in this harder job climate? In 2025, with your experience so far and how you've navigated things, how you've been methodical, how you've like networked, how you've built your skills, how you've like just really navigated the industry over the last year in this difficult climate, what is your advice, right? Your recommendation for people who are now getting into it, who are coming from, you have a lot of like shared experiences with people, whether like as an immigrant, whether as like someone who went to a community college, whether as someone who is, was not necessarily a kid from like an Ivy League school, right? Yeah. how would you navigate this job market to get your first internship?
That's once again another $1 million question right there. So I would say, I mean, of course, the things that worked for me back in 2023 when I was trying to figure out where to go from there is trial and error. You know, you try out. If it doesn't work, try the next thing, but don't keep using the same formula, expecting different results, right? Because you can't necessarily, let's say, keep texting the same thing to like all connections you're meeting with no agenda. Let's say you keep, hey, how are you? My name is this and that, and love to get to know you, and then expect like a different result, right? So I would say, come up with a strategy first. Come up with a plan. You know, if it's, let's say, first trying out like entry level certs, let's say certified in cyber or security plus or anything that floats your boat. It could also be any other certification. Yeah. But those are usually the ones that are most spoken about just when you get started to see if cyber is even for you, right? And then let's say if college is a thing that floats your boat, if something you're able to afford at the moment, it doesn't necessarily have to be very expensive or a big school. Yeah. WGU is a great place to go. Yeah. Or Collin or any other school that offers a cybersecurity program where you've seen people that came out of them, let's say like you or any other people that have seen come out of WGU that made, a career for themselves. Yeah. Do that research. Don't just go off of, this influencer said this. Do deep research. Do your research. Do your research. Find out if it's something that works for you, does it work with your lifestyle. Let's say if you work 60 hours a week. Yeah. You're not going to be able to show up in class like full time, like how you would. Yeah. Let's say with a school like WGU, it meets your needs, Yeah. So think about it that way. So school worked for me. It's not necessarily going to work for everyone. But these days, I'm sure you probably have covered it recently. Every job posting I've seen is asking for a bachelor's degree. At least the ones that the place that like jobs that make sense where you want to work. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So they're asking for a bachelor's degree. Some I've seen masters, some PhDs. So if there's a way of getting a degree, like WGU, let's say, for example, that's time efficient, where you can get your degree fast. Of course, we all learn differently, but at least it worked for me where I can get a degree pretty quickly and then go to the next thing. Yeah. If that's the thing, and of course, on top of that, it's also affordable. If that works for you, then good. Yeah. Then on top of that, of course, build projects. Go through Cyberwox. I'm sure you all have all type of projects that you can try out, right now, step-by-step guides. Also, there's a lot of people in the industry that, focus on all type of skills. Follow them, see what they're building, see what they're doing. Most people have YouTube channels where they just kind of talk about what they love and what they do. And there's always a YouTube video. I think that's something you're looking for. That you can build. So that's I would say a mix that's worked for me, and I'm sure it can still work today. Yeah. As of getting a job, or at least getting started. And of course, once again, going back to internships, I know always talk about like how is it called? Like internships may not be worth it because I've seen people kind of talk about it in a way, like throw that idea out there, talking about internships are not gonna be as good, or start with help desk or something. Because I'm sure you've heard of that kind of career or roadmap or whatever. They're always talking about start with help desk or take support and then go from there. Yeah. But that's not necessarily a route that works for everyone. That's true. You didn't necessarily have to go through it. Yeah. Most people didn't have to go through it and they still made it to cyber, right? So, of course, try out what works for you. Doesn't have to be help desk. Can go through with internships. Internships are a great way to. That's one thing I always tell people whenever they ask me why I'm still doing internships. It's a great way to try out all type of industries without necessarily having to commit to anything just yet. Yeah. So I got a chance to be in big tech, where I got a chance to see full-blown incidents, and you're just like, whoa, this is wild. Yeah. And all these threat actors that we hear out here of the Tempest, I don't know, scattered spiders. You hear it, but now you get a chance to see them in action, like in live incidents. Yeah. Now with the startup, where yes, Semperis maybe they say startup, not necessarily a startup anymore, as I was telling you earlier. But getting a chance to see how the resources they have, how they just make sure every resource is allocated. So now you really understanding that and seeing that and being able to do multiple things at once. Because now you're not necessarily just working like at Darwin, mostly focused on incidents. Yeah. Now I'm on product, I'm on security research. You like wherever they need you. Right? Yeah. And then later this summer, where I'm gonna be exposed to insider threats and all the tools and all the processes that come with that. So it's I would say it's a really great way to get exposed without necessarily committing to anything just yet.
Man, Carl, this has been an amazing conversation. you are inspiring. Like you're a very sharp guy, a very smart guy. I love what you're doing for yourself. I love like where you've come from, and I'm super excited to see where you go. That being said, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about like you've just heard a lot of great advice, and I think people are going to find a lot of value in it. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we ask about where we can find you?
I mean, really, I feel like I kind of touched on everything. You know, of course, I'm gonna be mentioning where you can find me, mostly LinkedIn, really. I have like kind of like an open door policy. If you want to reach out to me, hit me up. I'll make sure to get back to you in a timely manner. Yeah. And that's one thing I definitely focus on the most. Being able to give back in ways I can, because most people think they cannot necessarily give back just because they haven't made it yet, or in the industry, or just because I'm an intern, I can't necessarily give advice. So there's people that are still coming up, and not necessarily where I am yet. So I look at it from that perspective, and I want to make sure I'm able to give advice where I can. So LinkedIn, they can find me there. I'm sure you're gonna be able to add a little link or something. And that's pretty much all I can say. And also one big thing that I live by: make sure to give back. Yeah, that's something that worked for me. So,
man, I love that. Thank you so much for doing this, Carl. I invited Carl over to my house for us to have this conversation. So, thank you for coming all the way down here. Thanks for like just pouring out, like sharing with us your experience. I think a lot of people are going to find this valuable. I can't wait to get this out. I'll definitely try to get it out in a timely manner. I've got a lot of podcast episodes that are still like in the works, but we'll definitely get this out in a timely manner. And definitely like, reach out to Carl, ask him, questions, coming up on everything. And I'm sure he'll be happy to, help you out. But that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Cyber Stories podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us and leave a 5-star rating if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or similar platforms. Feel free to leave us a comment about what you took away from this episode, and I'd love to discuss it with you in the comment section. Also, don't forget to check out the video description or the podcast show notes for various resources to help launch and scale your cybersecurity career. You can also watch other episodes by clicking on this playlist if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, feel free to check out our other episodes. Thanks again for watching or listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.